Hey, good afternoon to you. 306 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up today, Bethany Mandel will be with us. The journalist and writer. She is present today at that March for Israel rally in the National Mall in Washington. Tens of thousands of people rallying as we speak for Israel. A very different image to look at than the ones of the pro-Hamas rallies we've been seeing. Not quite as vulgar. Not quite as destructive. In fact, neither of those things at all today. People standing together, singing the national anthem and supporting Israel. Gene Hamilton will be with us today at 4 o'clock from America First Legal. We're going to talk to him about Alejandro Mayorkas. The man deserves to be impeached. Why did 8 Republicans vote against that happening yesterday? And then Jake Denton will be here from the Heritage Foundation at 5 o'clock as the left announces new plans to clamp down on social media. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. A wild day on Capitol Hill. The rally for Israel is peaceful and sad at times as they talk about the attack on October 7th, or as Chuck Schumer puts it today, January 7th. Chuck Schumer has no idea when this all went down.
So the minute I heard of what happened in January 7th, I knew I had to go to Israel.
They really do have January 6th on the brain all the time, don't they? All the time. They cannot stop. It's the only date they think about. Don't you think it'd be an interesting experiment to go up to Chuck Schumer and say, I'm going to say a series of dates to you, and then you just let me know what happened on that date in history, right? September 11th. Oh, that's the attack on New York. Okay, I got that one. January 6th. Oh, the insurrection. December 7th, draws a blank. Doesn't know it's Pearl Harbor Day. Is it possible? October 7th. What happened October 7th? Quick. That was the attack on Israel. Chuck Schumer has no idea. Chuck Schumer says January 7th today because they're obsessed with accruing power from the events of January 6, 2021 and distorting them beyond recognition and then obtaining power through that distortion. Isn't that amazing? That's Chuck Schumer today. More coming up with Bethany Mandel on the specifics there, but a little palate cleanser from Chuck Schumer. Here's the national anthem today being sung at this rally for Israel.
For the land of the free and the whole of the
Pretty impressive. Nice rendition of this country's national anthem, the United States of America. So that's what's happening there at the National Mall. Meanwhile, in the United States Capitol building, it seems that Republicans are sick and tired of pretending about anything. They're at each other's throats, and threats of physical violence are growing on Capitol Hill. Actual physical violence apparently also growing on Capitol Hill. There's a report today, I'm going to quote from my buddy at the Henry Rogers over at the Daily Caller. Former Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy and Tennessee Representative Tim Burchett, who voted to oust McCarthy as Speaker, got into a heated altercation after a closed-door GOP meeting. As McCarthy and Burchett were leaving the closed-door meeting, McCarthy reportedly bumped into the back of Burchett, to which the Tennessee Republican responded by saying, "Hey, Kevin, have some guts." And he also called him a jerk. Here's a little bit of Tim Burchett relaying to CNN's Manu Raju the specifics today of what exactly went down. And things are getting spicy in the Capitol.
Congressman, explain to us what happened with you and Kevin McCarthy.
Well, I was doing an interview with Claudia from NPR, a lovely lady, and she was asking me a question. And at that time, I got elbowed in the back. And it kind of caught me off guard because it was a clean shot to the kidneys, and I turned back, and there was Kevin, and I for a minute I was kind of, what the heck just happened? And then I chased after him. Of course, he's as I've stated many times, he's a bully with $17 million in a security detail. He's the type of guy that when you're a kid would throw a rock over the fence and run home and hide behind his mama's skirt, and he just,
Wow.
He
talk about fighting words.
from behind, that kind of stuff. That's not the way we handle things in East Tennessee. If we have a problem with somebody, I'm going to look them in the eye and talk to them.
Okay.
So Tim Burchett says that Kevin McCarthy walked by him and then gave him the people's elbow right to the kidney. Boom! Hit him. And he's like, who hit me? Turns around. He's like, it's Kevin McCarthy. Dag nabbit, you crazy kids. And he says, Kevin McCarthy is a coward. He would hide behind Mama's skirt, he says. That's the kind of guy he is. No love lost between these two men. So then the reports are that Tim Burchett then ended his interview with the NPR chick and then started chasing Kevin McCarthy down. Here's Manu Raju explaining.
So you chased him? What do you mean you chased him?
I just ran after him. I was like, what the heck? Why'd you do that? Because it was, like I said, if you've ever been hit in the kidneys, it's a little different. You don't have to hit very hard to cause a little bit of pain, a lot of pain. And so he just, of course, as he always does, he just denies it or blame somebody else or something, and it was just a little heated.
How many suspects could there be for the elbow to Tim Burchett's kidneys?
I just backed off because I saw no reason. I wasn't gaining anything from it, and then everybody saw it, so it didn't really matter.
Like he responded to you?
Yeah, he just acted like, what are you talking about? Who are you? That kind of thing, and it's just, I think that's symptomatic of the problems that he's had in his short tenure as speaker.
Doesn't this sound like the kind of like a fight between a younger and an older brother? I didn't hit you. It wasn't me. Stop hitting yourself. Like just backseat fighting going on. I didn't hit him. I didn't even touch him. I didn't breathe on him. Tim Burchett, Kevin McCarthy. He said he was in pain, though. He said it doesn't take much. Take an elbow shot to the kidney. I was in pain. Burchett also said at one point they got face-to-face with one another today.
And were you face-to-face when you had this interaction?
Yeah, but there's security detail, and I get it. They were doing their job, so it wasn't exactly like he wouldn't turn around and face me. He kept scurrying, trying to keep people between me and him.
And then so where did he...
Hold me back! Hold me back!
I just let it go at that point. It wasn't...
Were you yelling?
He was... Yeah, I raised my voice to him. I thought it was appropriate. You just don't expect a guy who was at one time 3 steps away from the White House to hit you with a sucker punch in the hallway.
And did he raise his voice back to you?
Yeah, just that high-pitched kind of thing, I believe.
That high-pitched kind of thing. Everything. It's like a lot of passive aggression throughout this whole interview. He hides, how he is. He's the kind of guy who would throw a rock over a fence and make a run for it. He'd hide behind his mama's skirt. He said something to me. I don't know what it was, but it was that high-pitched voice he's got. It's like, dig, 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 going after McCarthy. Did his detail try to stop you at all? Did security have to step in?
Did his detail try to stop you?
The detail kind of got, one guy got between us there towards the end, but I wasn't looking to knock him out or anything. I just wanted to let him know I know it was him.
Were you injured?
I don't know, injured, man.
Did it hurt?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it still hurts because it was a shot to the kidneys, and it still hurts.
Wow.
Oddly enough, it's not anything I'm probably not gonna do an ethics complaint on him. He's not worth it.
You got to drive by kidney punching though. At some point, you do have to. What are you going to do about this?
He's going to be gone here either after Christmas or next year. And like I said, he's got the $17 million, and he's going to keep. He's already messing in everybody's races, and we all know that.
Are you accusing him of assault?
Am I accusing him
of assault?
I don't know. Ask a lawyer. It's over as far as I'm concerned.
Are you accusing him of assault? I mean, I guess in very simple terms, yes. He doesn't want to make a big deal out of it. Although he's doing an interview on the subject, so I guess he wants to make some sort of deal out of it. But Tim Burchett explaining that he got kidney punched by the former Speaker of the House today. Burchett finishes with a bit of a bless his heart kind of conclusion.
He could have gone out on top, and he's chosen to go this route. And I feel sorry for him. I pray for him every day. You may not believe that, but I do. I pray for him, and I hope he finds some happiness in his life.
Oh, man. Should I laugh at that? It's amusing. I'm sorry. That lawmakers, elbow shots to the kidneys in the United States Capitol building. That's not the only physical drama that took place today, if you can believe it. In fact, we had a series of events like this today. This one didn't actually involve physical violence, but it did involve a threat of physical violence. There was a hearing today in the Senate Help Committee, And it involved Oklahoma Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin. He was reading a tweet from the Teamsters boss, Sean O'Brien. Sean O'Brien is a union boss who is testifying today before the Senate Help Committee. And the Republican Senator, Markwayne Mullin, read an old tweet of his where essentially the union boss had threatened to beat up Senator Mullin. So Mullin decides, all right, I'm going to read this tweet, and then I'm going to give him an offer here, see if he wants to take me up on it.
Like he's self-made. Sir, I wish he was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company. Myself and my wife was running the office because I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy.
Okay, so that's the tweet he just quoted from. That's the union guy, Sean O'Brien, expressing his contempt for Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma. And so Mullin reads out the tweet. He's like, find me anywhere, anytime. Tough guy.
Find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
All right, so these two men stand up. Both of them stand up. The union guy stands up, and Senator Markwayne Mullin stands up. And you can see him goes for his wedding ring. Like he's got to take off the ring to use the weapons on his arms and start beating the hell out of this union guy. It's the best. Honestly, it's the best. Enough of this small talk. Like, they hate each other. They're like, all right, settle the score. So Markwayne Mullin stands up. Now, you hear at the end, that's Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the chairman of this committee. And so leave it to the Vermont socialist hippie to try and talk everybody down. All right, that's enough. Everyone needs to calm down.
We can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution, everybody?
Hold it. No, sit down. Sit down. Okay. You're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Actively.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond? Mr.
Hold it. If
Hold
we
on.
can't, no,
This is
I have
what
the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This is
Hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing.
If you don't knock it off, I'm going to kick everybody's butt in the air. Just you wait. Just you see what I got. I fought some fights in the day. So that's Bernie Sanders today. Bernie Sanders having to calm everybody down in a Senate hearing where a U.S. senator offered to take up a union boss's offer for fisticuffs. So in case you're wondering, Congress is very active. Not working on the people's business, no, but they are threatening to beat each other up in the hallway. So there's that. 3:20 now. You know, you expect a lot of weird things to happen in Washington, D.C. I definitely didn't have Bernie Sanders breaks up a fist fight on my bingo card today. That was nowhere near my card. Markwayne Mullin, the U.S. senator who was willing to start that fist fight today. Did you know that he fought in 3 mixed martial arts fights, according to the always reliable Wikipedia? He fought in 3 mixed martial arts fights between 2006 and 2007. He won all 3 of them. All 3 of them. His total fight time was less than 10 minutes, and he fought a total of less than 3 full rounds. In other words, that sounds like he won in the first round in every fight of his 3-fight record. He's undefeated. He was looking for a 4th today. He didn't get it. But I don't think that that union guy would have fared well. Also, just looking at the 2 men, I think there's a pretty significant age difference between the 2 of them. I think the union guy was a lot older. But he still was like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. He was ready to fight. And he that wouldn't have gone well. So Bernie Sanders, in his old age, jumped in. And somehow he was the coolest head in the room. I don't even know how that happened. I will say that my dad texted me today, the old retired Marine. And he says, I love this. And I knew he would. I was tickled to death by it. I was like, look at these guys. You know? And how many times do you think that there are times where like these guys just want to say something like that, right? Like, hey, you know what? Why don't you knock it off, you little brat? I can beat the heck out of you. People want to say it, but they restrain themselves. But it is kind of funny to see it play out today. Just remarkable. I was thinking that, over the weekend there was that big UFC fight in Madison Square Garden that everybody's been talking about because just to put a finer point on what happened, did you see that like all of conservative, to the extent that I can use this phrase, conservative royalty were all at the UFC fight in New York City at Madison Square Garden, I think it was Saturday night. It was a big deal, right? Trump shows up, and there's tons of people. Don Jr., of course, is there, and you've got Dan Bongino is there, and Tucker Carlson is there, and go down the list. Of course, Dana White, who runs the place. You've got Joe Rogan there because Joe Rogan does the commentary for these UFC fights. And so the room was just densely packed with all sorts of people that conservatives like, for sure. Bill Burr was even there. I know a lot of conservatives. I like Bill Burr. I think he's funny, but he's all angry about Trump, and his wife hates Trump, and she's middle fingering at Trump. But this was basically what happened recently that Dana White needed to survive. What was it? Remember the Bud Light thing? He did this big deal with Bud Light, and then he was trying to explain himself. Why do we sign up Bud Light? And so he comes along and he's like, look, maybe they're turning over a new leaf. They screwed up with that thing, but I'm glad they're supporting us, right? And so you've got to put it all in context. Why is Dana White sending out 1 million invites to every conservative you've ever heard of? Boom, boom, boom. They're all there. And everybody loves it. MMA fights are cool. UFC fights are cool. And so coming out of it, what do we get this week? They're all out there. They're going wild out there. It's like back when we were kids, you see fake wrestling matches on TV and you think, I could do that. And then kids start getting hurt the week later, suplexes through picnic tables. Doesn't exactly work the same way as it does on television. Coming up, we're going to take a closer look at what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. Tens of thousands of Americans right there on Capitol Hill, on the National Mall, rallying in support of Israel. Bethany Mandel is one of those. She'll join us next. Hey, good afternoon to you. 3:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up today, Gene Hamilton will join us from America First Legal. We'll talk to him about the effort to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas, put on ice at least for a moment with the help of 8 Republicans yesterday. We'll get into more details on that with Gene. And then Jake Denton joins us. He handles tech policy for the Heritage Foundation, as yet another Democrat has plans for monitoring American speech on the internet. We'll talk about that coming up, and you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. A big rally today on the National Mall in support of Israel as it fights its war against the terror group Hamas. Here is just a sample. Here is an actress, singer, Broadway star Tova Feldsha speaking today from the mall.
We know that to lose a life is to lose a universe. And as we stand shoulder to shoulder, we transform thousands of our yahrzeit candles into one supernova of light and hope, illuminating the memories of those we have lost and shedding light on the murderers who brought them to their death.
A lot of unity of purpose today on the National Mall. Joining us now to discuss what she's seeing there is Bethany Mandel. She's the co-author of the book Stolen Youth, How Radicals Are Erasing Innocence and Indoctrinating a Generation. Bethany, good to have you back with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm walking back, so you're going to hear a lot of authentic background noise.
That's perfect. Tell me about the rally today. How was it?
It was beautiful. I couldn't even possibly estimate how many people there were. We really packed the mall, but it was beautiful. There was singing and beautiful speeches, from folks from like Deborah Messing to Jackie Rosen, Democrat from Nevada, to Chuck Schumer, to Republicans. It was really, it was a bipartisan, wonderful event. And we saw signs from Montreal and Chicago and Boca Raton. And I cheated a little bit and I came from Washington here. But It was a real beautiful event with Jews from all over the country.
Sure.
Philadelphia, my daughter wants me to mention.
Say that again?
My daughter wants you to mention that Philadelphia was also there.
Philadelphia was also representative. Well, thank you to your daughter for making sure we get that in there. So and hold that in stark contrast to the violence, the chaos, the bigotry that we're seeing, not just in D.C., but in a lot of cities across the country where people stand up not for Israel, but for Hamas.
Yeah, absolutely. So the day after the pro-Palestine rally, I was actually at the White House, and it was graffiti, it was painted, it was the hostage posters were ripped down. It was really a real dichotomy between those two events. We felt safe. We had the police protecting us, and at the other rally, everyone was being protected. Everyone was protecting the rest of D.C. from those protests. So it was really a drastic difference in the role of security in those two protests.
Did you see any anti-Israel, anti-Jewish protesters out on the street today?
Not a single one. Not a single one. And like, truth be told, we were expecting it, and I got so many texts this morning, be safe, be safe.
Yeah.
Did not see a single soul. It was all in support, and it was beautiful to see how many signs people were holding. You know, Christians stand with Israel, and it was clear that we were not just there as Jews. It was really an American effort.
So, you know, what's interesting is right now the left has a very public battle going on between all of its various factions. The people who don't support Israel, many of them don't want to see Israel exist at all, and those who do. What kind of message do you think it was Chuck Schumer, for instance, was sending by being there today at that rally and speaking up on behalf of Israel?
I mean, it's incredible, honestly. The outspoken support on the Democratic side has been empowering and inspiring. John Fetterman from Pennsylvania has been incredible. So another one was Hillary Clinton was also incredible on The View. So, I mean, I think that people understand when they are, you know, rational human beings that don't have hatred in their hearts, like the squad, that this is truly a fight between good versus evil.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and there are people within Biden's administration who are all upset that he has spoken out in support of Israel. I've seen a report today from the New York Times. More than 500 political appointees and staff members representing some 40 government agencies sent a letter to President Biden Tuesday, that's today, protesting his support of Israel in its war in Gaza. So there's a very real faction within our government who does not want to support Israel as it fights against Hamas here.
Yeah, and it's funny because now that this sort of deep state insurrection against the sitting president is a Democrat, all of a sudden we're starting to hear like, you know, this is unprofessional. This is unbecoming. We cannot be splintered in our messaging. Like, now that the president is not Donald Trump, all of a sudden there's some recognition that like, maybe people going rogue is not great for the American democracy.
Totally. Give us some of your other thoughts today, Bethany, on what you saw and heard. I mean, it must have been a pretty amazing experience. You said you couldn't estimate the size of the crowd. Do you think that this event will have a lasting impact?
I mean, I think that for politicians who might have been a little bit on the fence, they have seen that, you know, people will show up and turn out. But I think, honestly, the most empowering thing, and sorry to get like a little floofy and sentimental, but just, you know, praying with all of the Jews that were there. Like, I believe strongly in the power of prayer.
Sure.
And that, you know, we're storming the heavens. And I turned to my kids and I said, there's 240 people that are being held hostage. Look how many tens of thousands of Jews stood up to say, we are your brothers, we are your sisters, and we are standing with you, and we will not go home until you come home.
I did see that there were a number of family members of the hostages who spoke today. Mm-hmm. How powerful were those messages? They
were incredible. They were just, I mean, they talked about the anguish of the last 38 days and the fact that, you know, they have lived in this suspended reality since all of this happened. And, you know, they have heard nothing from their families. They don't have even a sign of life that they're still alive. We heard yesterday that one of the families of Vivian Silver. She was a peace activist. She was Canadian. They only just identified a piece of her body yesterday. So there's this deep fear that maybe their loved one isn't alive in Gaza, but also maybe they are, and they don't know what's worse.
What do you make of the fact that a lot of lies have taken hold as it relates to the terror attack on Israel? And do you think that this event, given its size and the number of people who attended it today and the coverage of it for that matter, will that have the effect of breaking through some of those lies?
I don't think so. I mean, there's bad people who they are willing to believe anything in service of their ideology, and so they have decided that Israel is evil and that all of this is made up and it's propaganda. That's how they're excusing ripping down these posters. They're claiming that it's propaganda, but it's just, I mean, when you have hate in your heart and you want to remain ignorant, even in the face of Hamas taking live video of what they did, they still won't believe it. There is no convincing these people.
No, it's so wild. Well, God bless you for going out there and for bringing your daughters with you. It must have been an amazing experience, and I really appreciate your time today, Bethany.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry for all the background noise.
No, not at all. It gives us a real deal on the ground presence there at today's rally. Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you, Ben.
That's Bethany Mandel, again, in attendance today at that March for Israel rally, bringing the family out and praying alongside so many fellow Jews for peace and for an end to all of this. I mean, it's just, I was thinking about it the other day, just in terms of from a religious perspective. If you're a Jewish person watching all of this go down, you're like, what a nightmare. What a complete nightmare for the people you know and love and for your faith. I was thinking, like, what would it be like if the Vatican was attacked, right? Speaking as a Catholic, how would I feel about it? I'd be livid. It'd be awful. It would just be awful. You're watching the head of your faith attacked. And see, that makes a lot of sense that people would react this way. And also, just even if you don't have a religious attachment to it, beyond that, just the sheer, again, the moral clarity that comes from all of this. Apparently, there was another screening today. Was it this morning on Capitol Hill of the footage of October 7th, and you had lawmakers who couldn't endure more than 5 minutes of it because that's how horrific it was. The kind of things that only people who go to war typically see, but now captured on video. And that video was captured by Hamas. It wasn't Israel that was capturing this. Hamas was wearing body cameras to glorify what they did. Horrific stuff. And today, a big rally, a lot of prayers lifted up today here in the nation's capital. A good use of these green spaces in order to support a good cause here. Let's see. Let me bring in Rose, who's calling in from Leesburg now on line 3. Rose, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Callahan Show.
Hi, good afternoon, Vince. How are you?
I'm doing well, Rose. What's on your mind?
Good. I just wanted to make you aware of a situation. My son attends Liberty University, and Liberty University had planned on taking over 1,000 students into D.C. today to support the March for Israel, and 22 buses. And late yesterday afternoon, evening, D.C. informed Liberty that they would not allow them to bring the buses into the city to drop off the students, that in turn they would have to go to Alexandria and have all of the students take Metro in. It was concerning to me that if they're doing this to the Liberty University students, how many other groups did they forbid to come in and drop off supporters of this March for Israel? And the last-minute notice, of course, threw a huge wrench into the plans for Liberty University, and the president decided, based on safety and security for the students, that they would have to cancel their participation in this event, which is sad to me because that's over 1,000 students that wanted to support Israel and march in solidarity with them.
Yeah, this is
none of these laws or rules were in place for the pro-Palestinian march.
Yes. No, I don't remember anything like that. So there's a couple stories on this subject. I'm glad you're bringing it to my attention, Rose. I see here a WSET is a ABC affiliate covering all of this. Headline, Liberty University cancels trip to March for Israel due to travel restrictions. And they say, exactly as you're saying here, Rose, that due to D.C. Metro travel restrictions and guidance from event organizers, Liberty University canceled its trip for students to attend the March for Israel event on Tuesday, according to a Liberty University official. That official saying, quote, "This is very disappointing. Certainly we tried all we could to get our buses into the city. It was a major deviation from what we do in annual and during the March for Life and what typical travel and security protocols are in place. We have not changed our minds at all about supporting Israel publicly and in meaningful ways as a university. There will be many more opportunities." They say it was travel restrictions imposed by authorities in Washington, D.C. that prevented busloads of students arriving in their own nation's capital to support the March for Israel. That's insane to me.
Correct. Yep. Very sad. Very disappointing.
It's very. I'd like some more explanation as to why you couldn't find various locations to drop people off. Has the city become that unsafe? There's nowhere safe to drop the students off. What is the explanation for this?
And the fact that it was so last minute, they just canceled the trip last night. I was on the phone with my son when he said, "Mom, I just got a letter from our president saying that they had to cancel the trip." So DC just made that rule yesterday, just imposed that rule yesterday and notified people. How many other groups had to cancel their plans to support Israel because of this last minute decision by DC?
We're going to keep our antenna up on this story. It seems really important. Rose, thank you very much for bringing it to our attention. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you, Vince. Okay.
Yeah, the House Speaker Mike Johnson speaking today at the March for Israel right here in the nation's capital. Take a listen.
The calls for a ceasefire are outrageous. We stand the call.
Yeah, that's the so that was Mike Johnson today, part of a longer speech in support of Israel. Let's see. We'll take Donna now calling in from Frederick on this subject. Donna, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, Vince. You know, I'm absolutely surprised that there wasn't some kind of mayhem. I was very concerned about the people going down there, especially when we've got, the open border problem that never seems to go away, that always sits on the back burner while our ridiculous Congress are fighting among each other like kindergarten children. It's frustrating. So I just had to vent that. But anyway, I'm relieved that nothing else, transpired in the way of, some sort of uprising down there. What I have perplexed in my brain here, I'm a little confused with Chuck Schumer being pro-Israel. And I'm thinking, so where the Democrats are pro-Hamas through Iran, and at the same time they want their money for Israel. So are we funding both sides of the same war? The whole thing is just such a mess.
It's you're so right, Donna. This is actually a really important point I want to dwell on. So Chuck Schumer is right there with Joe Biden pushing a $10 billion aid package not for Israel, for Gaza, for Hamas. Hamas controls Gaza. They want to send $10 billion in there. Now, they say it's humanitarian aid, but we know what happens to every dime of so-called humanitarian aid that goes into Gaza. It gets seized and utilized by Hamas and its war machine, its terror machine. And simultaneously, they say they want to send $14 billion to Israel. So to your point, once again, the United States being put in a position where we're funding both sides of the same conflict and told not to ask any questions about it.
Right. It disgusts me. And then we have this ridiculous thing with Mayorkas, which is so infuriating. And these rhinos, I'm telling you, that's going to come back around. And these people aren't going to be able to walk down the streets because the American citizens are 100% fed up at this point.
Yeah, this border is a complete disaster, as you rightly pointed out. These rallies are a good idea. We should get more of them going. Make sure Washington hears how we feel about all of this. I'd like to see some rallies to secure our borders, to stop the fentanyl, to stop killing over 100,000 Americans a year, to bring some sense to our government, to cut some spending, to bring down inflation. I like seeing some support for Israel. Now I'd like to also see some support for America. Let's get all of that going, shall we?